Welcome to the fastest stop in town. Today on Sotah Daf Tes Zion. We're going to begin on Tes Zion Amud Aleph, about 5 lines from the top. Iboilhu. So the Gemara asked regarding the requirement of putting offer, dirt, earth, into the kli, which is part of the concoction of the Sotah to consume. So the Gemara asks, Ein sham offer mahu shitain afer. If you don't have the earth, can you put ashes instead? So, according to the Shita, Beis Shammai is no question. He holds that these two things are totally different, and therefore, according to Beis Shammai, certainly cannot do this. What is this machlokes Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel? So Rashi says, based on the Gemara in Masechtas Chulin, Gabi Kisui Hadam, regarding the covering of the blood of a chaya or a seaport, a Levi de Beis Hillel, the army Afer Kari Afar, he actually holds that even though typically we would use the earth, but you could also use ashes to do kisei dam b'chsiv, v'lochu atami mi afar sreifa sachatos. Because he learns out from the Paraduma that these words are interchangeable. That when it comes to the ashes of the Paraduma, it's also referred to as afar. Beis Shammai oimrim afar sreifa nikra afar. However, stamel lo ikri. It's only because it was burned that we're dealing with the paraduma. That's why it can be compared to ashes. Just like when you burn something, it turns into ashes. So only there we could say the words are interchangeable. Mashen Kain in general, an offer is not afer, and therefore you can't learn enough from Kisidam. So too, also over here, if you don't have offer, then you need to find more offer. You have to get it from somewhere else. So Kiti Boylach back in the Gemara, you lived in Basil, the Amar Matsinu Afer Shikari offer my. So according to him, he does say, as we brought down regarding the Paraduma, that they are interchangeable. So Afagav the Ikri Afar Hachabakarka Hamishkin Ksiv. Over here it's a little bit different because the pasuk, which is extra, actually mentions this whole notion of it has to come from the earth of the Mishkan. So, in that situation, it must be coming perhaps to exclude in the Afer, that you can't use ashes. Odilma, Haibakarka Hamishkan, maybe the whole reason why it mentions this is either Likidi ben Yehuda, or Likidi ben Menachem Hudasi. Now, we're just supposed to know who they are, but we mentioned yesterday's daf, the very last line on Testimony of Beis, the Isi ben Yehuda says, Lohavi Karka Shila Noiv Givon, or maybe that's not included, or Beis Halamin, that you could take earth from these other places. So maybe that's what this drush is coming to tell you. Or it's coming to tell you, according to the other Shita, in which says that if you don't have offer in this particular location, you can go and get it. So Yesh Sham Have, Ein Sham Tein Sham. So what you need to do is you take earth from another place, and then you bring it in, you put it down, then you pick it up. So therefore, maybe that's the reason why that pasuk says that, but really you can actually use afer in this situation. So that is the question. So Tashma. So perhaps we can figure out the answer in the following way. The Amr Rabbi Yochanan Mishum Rabbi Shmuel B'Shleishim Kaimos. In 3 circumstances, we find that halacha oikeves mikra hatayra, mikra hatayra, that halacha Moshe Sinai is going to end up uprooting, if you will, or explaining a pasuk. A pasuk, which is just pashut pshat, can actually have a different meaning based on halacha Moshe Sinai. And this is question 8, also question TA26. Question 8 says, Indian mamatzino hatayra amra Afer halacha keres hakra. Okay, fine. So Amra, so we'll get to that. So Amra bit afar v'halacha b'chol davar, because that's what it says. It says when in kisi hadam, that's the answer, kisi hadam, that even though it says afar, the halacha Moshe Sinai is you can use anything. It doesn't have to be dafka afar. Says Rashi, Atamar ba'afrol in kisei adam v'hiksher davar acher, which means you can't use anything else. And then the halacha is b'chol davar. It says Rashi, hamagadel smochim, if you have things that flourish, Kagain, for example, gir, zarnich, batsid, v'charsis, lavena, kadsha, if you have lime or pitch or these different parts of the of earth that you grind up. So at that point, even though, again, because it is not really karka, you would think it's not offer, but the Halacha Mishmesina says regarding Kisi Adam that it does work. Hatayr Armor, second of all, it says Batar, a razor, B'Halacha B'Chol Davar, says Rashi. Now, regarding the pasuk Yavar al Rosho B'Nazir, now Nazir is not allowed to cut his hair, so it mentions a razor, which is mashma maybe only with a razor. The Halacha, says Rashi, as we saw in Masechtas Nazir shegilech, if a Nazir shaved, bein bezog bein batar, or shesiv sev kol shu chayiv, he's going to be chayiv in all these situations, even if it's not just a razor. The entire says Rashi rather, ein zu akira el tosefes. This is not really uprooting, but all it's doing is adding on. So he said, we know that you're not allowed to just give someone malchus for nothing. First wide line. So it's a Rabbi's called davar darshli. Fine. So that's the idea regarding the chi of malchus. Okay. Of a nazir. Tam oimer batar v'lach b'chol davar. Hatar oimer sefer v'lach b'chol davar. So all three of these things is the halacha is b'chol davar. B'chol davar by sefer as well. What is that? Because when it comes to a get, it says it's l'rabus kol davar. Now it's b'ksiva miskarashis and miskarashis b'kesef, that you can only divorce a woman with a document, but not with money. And we're not machash havel yitzi, as the Gemara Kedushin says. V'chein kulan ela halach mosh mesine samchinan v'kroya smachta be'alma. So the truth is that it's just an smachta be'alma, this din, and this pasuk, and therefore hilkach shar midrashim ribuyin dechol tarakula lo yichashul hu Rabbi Shmuel kahalacha keres mikra olahani tlas. Okay, fine. So let's actually look at TA26. TA26 is different than what we said before. So it's chatas. It's ba'afar b'kisi adam, using the offer of kisi adam, b'tar b'nazir, b'sefer b'get. Okay. So why are we mentioning these three things? It must be coming to say dafka those three things. You should also mention this one, says Rashi. The efer nami kosher. If in fact you don't just use offer by a Sotah, but you could also use efer or ashes, nami the halacha ikeres mikra, the atar amr offer. The Torah says only offer. Amr af efer. And the pasuk is coming to include efer. The fact that it's not on this list obviously shows that you cannot use it. So Tana Bashir. So no, not necessarily. Maybe there are other situations, but the Tana only mentions some and leaves some out. Even though, again, it says B'shloishim in Kaimos, it says Dafka 3. So Tana Bashir. So my shir dahai shire. So whenever you leave out something, you're not just going to leave one out, you have to leave out numerous ones out. So shir mitzayra. There's, in addition to that, is that when it comes to mitzayra, what is that? The sign we learn, V'haya b'yom hashvi yigalach eskol sa'aroi. On the seventh day, this person is supposed to cut all of his hair off. So on this Rashi says this tegalacha shniya shutzarch shtei tegalachos. He actually will shave, but Mitzvah shaves twice. It's back in the Gemara. So kol es roisha v'esakanai v'es gabos einav. So that includes he has to cut his hair, his beard, and even his eyebrows. Prat v'es kol sa'aro yigalech. So that is klal. That is the klal. Cut off all your hair. And then it says, as Rosh Hashanah Gabas Einav, that's a prat. So we started with a klal, then a prat. Then it says v'es kol sa'ari galech chaz v'klal. So it's more general, then specific areas, then it's klal. So it's a klal prat, a klal, you have to then okay a prat. So we end up learning kain a prat. What's that? Ma prat maforish, these specific things, your hair, your beard. It's mokim kinus seir venira. It's a place where hair gathers, and it's something which is visible for people to see, that area of your face. Av kol mokim kinus seir venira venira. And also has to be places where you could see. So that's what's coming to tell us. What is that coming to exclude? So venira, so Rashi says, lemuti beis hashechi, that he doesn't have to shave, let's say, his armpits, under his arms, because that's not nira. That's not something which is typically visible. Fine. So ma Rabbi, what does it come to include? Rabbi Sarah haraglayim. It's coming to include even the hair of one's legs. Says Rashi, it doesn't really mean raglayim, means the oisoy makoim. It's actually talking about in his private area. We're just writing in a nicer way. So my miyat, as the Gemara says, the beis hashechi udekuli gufe, his under his arms as well as the rest of his body. So it's not to shave his whole body, just the areas which are open, which includes the his ser haraglayim. Why is that nira? It's a good question. V'hilchasa migaleach kidalas, that he actually has to shave all of his hairs. Says Rashi, af b'tiglacha shniya, also the second shaving, the migaleach kol gufo. That actually the second shaving, not that we say this, but he actually has to shave everything. Did not bo lahakif esamitzaira maver tower kol basarei. It says that if he wants to come, Messiah wants to come, he should pass the razor over all of his hair. Now that is referring to the first haircut. The katani seif of Yom Hashvi megalchdai tegalachas shnia tegalachas rishayna. That the second shaving should be just like the first shaving. So just like the first shaving, he shaves off all of his hair. So the second one also, the day naturally is he has to shave off entirely all of his hair. Okay. Amr of Nachman Bar Yitzchak ki kachashiv halacha occurs mikra ha'oikeres midrabanan hi oikeves. Let me read it again. Ki kachashiv halacha oikeves. When do we say this notion that maybe I said okeres before? Oikeves. When do we say that a halach moshinai uproots or steps on, like with an ankle, the pasuk ha oikeves midrabanan hi? This is midrabanan. Says Rashi, mitzara lo shirahu. You can't include mitzara. The chikach chashav halacha oikeves mikra could go in sefer tar afar dechsib behedya. Those are things which are explicit in the pasuk. The halacha ekeves, and the halacha basically removes it. However, over here, this is not something which is explicit in the pasuk. So it's not like the halach mashina is really coming to change what is pashup shot in the pasuk, because it doesn't say in the pasuk. It's only a drasha that we're able to figure this out. So therefore, the truth is, mitzara, the fact that the shaving of the second time of the mitzara, that's not something which is she'ir. But Papa Omer Kiko Chashav Halacha Oikeves Va'ikeres Ha Oikeves Umosefes. Normally it's only when it uproots the pasuk. Over here, it's just saying that you need to cut off more hair. Mosefesi. It's not uprooting it. It's not saying don't do this, but do something else. Here it's just saying do more. So therefore, that in itself would not apply. That would not be therefore a shear, and therefore again we go back that luchar, it's a raya. The fact that Offer and Afer are not mentioned in this area regarding the Sotah, it must be that you cannot use Afer. Rabashi Omer Ha Masnisamani, Rabbi Yishmuel, he Didarsh Klali Prati. This whole notion that says Makim Kino Ser Venira, that it's a Kal Prat Klal, has to be Ke'ena Prat, is like Rabbi Shmuel, that he darshans Kal Prat. And as we continue to test Zayin Mud Beis. Kidalas. As we Kidalas Mani. So says Rashi, Hadik Tani Megalcho Tigalacha Shnia Krishina. So who is that opinion? Which is not like this Klal Prat. It's Rabbi Akiva, because he says you have to shave off everything. So on the second time. So Rabbi Akiva did Riboy Miyute, the Sanya. Cut off all your hair, Riva. That's very inclusive. But then it's specific. As Roshov, as Sakanai, as Gabas Einav, Miet. That's very specific, it excludes. Yes, Kol Sa'ari Golechaz of Riba. So you have Riba, Miet Veriba, not Klal Prat Klal, but Riba, Miet Veriba, Riva HaKoil. Includes everything. So my Riva, the Kule. Gufin includes the whole body. My Miet Ser Shibataycha Chaitem. It's only referring to the hair which is inside of the chaitim of the nose. So my Havala, what exactly is the maskana? Says Taisus, Tema, Maka boy, what exactly is this question? Kivan delav shiura havi, we just said Mitzara is not a shiura, and therefore the fact that it's not mentioned in the list should be a raya that Afer cannot be used. Says Taisus, in kain tivshut, that should be the answer. V'yishleimer delo is barulhu hai dishiara. Imishum taima kedaprecious lav shirahu. Imishum detana nachas l'shiura. So it's still not entirely clear. So you can't just derive it as the fact that we tried to bring a proof and we said, well, maybe Mitzayra, but maybe Mitzayra is not a second case. That's not enough already to say that's a conclusive answer what the maskan is. Therefore, we need a different proof. Tashma Yamarav Huna Barashi Yamarav Ein Sham Afar. What if you don't have Afar? Maybe Rakbuvis Yorak Umekadesh. You can take this that which has decayed, and you may Mekadesh it with this, which is like a rotten vegetable, with this rotten, that which is rotten. Tahavi Afar. So that's comparable to Afar. Vlohi. That's not the case. Rakbuvis Yoraku Tahavi Afar. It's true that the rotty vegetable is like dust. Afer lo havi Afar. But Afer does not necessarily mean it's Afar. So again, the fact that it says this is not necessarily a raya either way. Look at Rashi, Ma havilah, the ba'ain dela'el im in sham Afar mahu shitin Afer, and it's still not so clear what the din is. Kadei shioreh al hamayim. So then it says, when you put in the water, the question is, what do you do first? Do you first put in the ashes, or do you first put in the dirt rather, or do you put in the water? So that is the question. So if you look in the Mishnah in Tesvav Amud Beis, it says, Nichnas l'heichel fana minu makom hayasham. He takes this ashes kishumag biyam v'noitel offer metachteha, and he takes the offer from under it, v'noisin kadesh shiora el mayim, and it should be seen on the water, which almost sounds like the offer comes first, and then there's the offer, the mayim first, and then the offer is put on afterwards, possibly. So let's see. Tanu Rabbanan, shloisha srichim sheyera'u. There's three things that need to be visible. Afar, Sotah. When it comes to the afar of the Sotah, as we said, that the afar needs to be visible in the water. The afer para, when it comes to the afer of the paraduma. Also, v'roik yavama. When it comes to the spittle of the yavama, that it has to be, as Rashi says, le'enei hazakanim The Zakanim need to see it, as the pasuk says, "L'eni hazakanim," etc. Mishum Rabbi Shmuel Amar Af Dam Tzipor. Also, when it comes to the dam of a tzipor, says Rashi, Shel Mitzayra. Now, Mitzayra, part of the purification process, brings birds. Sheshachtu el kli cheres. He shechs the blood of the tzipor into an earthenware vessel. Al mayim chayim, and it has mayim chayim, as we said by the Mitzayra. The question is, does that apply by Sotah too? That it has to come from a spring. The social yitin mayim ela kashir she'edam tzipor nikr behen. You can't have so much water that you can't see the blood. So it has to be recognizable. So my time Rabbi Shmuel. Why? Dechsev v'tavel oisam b'dam hatzibor. So the fact that it says it in that language that it's b'dam hatzibor, it's clear that it has to be visible. The Gomer b'tanya b'dam yochol b'dam v'lo b'mayim. You would think it's with blood and no water. Talmud loimer b'mayim. Yimayim yochol b'mayim v'lo b'dam. Maybe no blood. Talmud loimer b'dam. Haketzad. Maybe mayim shedam sipor nikr behen. That you have to have water in it, but also the dam sipor has to also be recognizable. V'kama revius. So it will explain why it's that amount later. Rabbanan hahula gufi. The Rabbanan will say this is coming to tell the matter itself. Ta'achi kamar achmana atbil b'dam b'mayim, that you should, even though he doesn't require, according to the Tanakama, it's not required because it's not on the list, that it has to be nicker. You still have to have blood and water in it. So it's just telling you that you have to be taivel with both of these things. Rabbi Shmuel im kein lechtav rachmana v'tavel bahem. Just say bahem. But dam b'mayim l'amuli. So it means when nicker. There has to be that the blood and the water must also be recognizable. Rabbanan ikas rachmana v'tavel bahem. If it only said that hava mina haylo chude v'haylo chude, you would think maybe they're totally separate from one another, the water and the blood. That they have to be mixed together. Rabbi Shmuel, Arvin, Krach, Rinaksiv. The pasuk already tells you you're supposed to mix the two. So the fact that the pasuk says, let's see this entire pasuk. But let's see. Vasiva. This is Yodalid. Vasiva koin v'shachas sipor ha'achas el kli cheres al mayim chayim. Rabban ima hu havamina l'shchate samachamana. It just means you shecht it near the kli. V'nin ketinhu lirvidin, and you should take out a blood vessels. L'kable with dam b'mana, you should be makabel the blood with a kli. Achrina with b'man achrina with another kli. Kamashmua. So b'mani Rabbi Yomi and Rav Zera. Gedayla, if you have a large bird, umadches esamayim, and it pushes off the water, which means because it's so large, the water is not recognizable because there's so much blood. Or katana, if you have a small bird, v'nidchas m'niyamayim mahu. The bird size should matter. So Malay lava minalach lotapik nafshach lobar mihilchasa. I said you shouldn't go outside of the halacha. Says Rashi, kol devi chachamim shenikvu al tahar achreim. If the chachamim give us a shear, that's what the measurement is. Don't start coming up, oh, what if it's a big bird with a lot of blood, or a small bird with no blood? So no, I'm telling you it's a revius and that's it. But sipur dror shir rabbanan, that when it comes to a free bird, the chachamim evaluate ein loch gedoyla shemadches esamayim ve'ein loch katana shenidches mibnei hamayim. So we never find that this particular type of bird that's used for the tzipor, for the mitzayra, is never enough that there'll be so much blood that you won't see the water, and it won't be so little that you won't be able to see the blood. Tonabon. Hikdim offer l'mayim. If you're hikdim offer, if you put the offering first and then afterwards the water puzzle, or Shimon Machshir. He says no, even though typically you should put the water in first However, if you put the offer in first, then it's fine. So my time with Rabbi Shimon. So why does Rabbi Shimon say it's still okay? That the tummy person will take me offer sreifas achatas from the ashes of the sreifas of the chatas. But Tanya Omer Shimon v'chi afar who is it really afar with an ayin? Lo afar who it's really ashes. So shinekasa b'mashmoi. So why does the pasuk change this language by the paraduma? Ladon himenu gzer shava to compare the two. Never kan afar v'never han afar. So it says afar here regarding the paraduma, and it says it also in our context as well. So ma laholan afar al gabi mayim. So just like over here, you're supposed to put the afar on the top of the water. Notice the water goes first. Avkan afar al gabi mayim. So too, we see by the paraduma that again the water comes first. Umakan hikdim afar lamayim kosher. Avlahon hikdim afar lamayim kosher. So the din is that again, even though you're supposed to really put the water in first, but if you put the afar first, it's kosher by the case of the paraduma, and in our case by the Sotah. So trey ksiv. Ksiv alav, it says the word alav. So alma afer bereisha. That's mashma that the ashes or the dirt comes first. Ksiv maim chaim el kli. El Kelly. It says you put the water into the kli, which is mashma maim bereisha. That sounds like the water is first. So haketzan, what comes first? Ratzah zen naisen, ratzah zen naisen. So we learn out the fact that it could be this way, that way. Therefore, there's no real difference. There's no preference. And therefore, if you put the water in first, it's okay. If you put the offer in first, it's fine. Rabbanon el Kelly dafka Allah dafka, that it has to be that the water goes in first. Alav arvan. The word alav is just telling you that they're supposed to be mixed together. Vema alav dafka. Maybe alav is dafka and el Kelly should hey chayusin bekli. Says Rashi shel yito min hamayin bekli acher. They shouldn't take it from the waters from a different kli, yitin l'tayich zeh, and put it into this one. El bekli zeh yeshive min hamayin. That you should actually use this one kli to scoop it up from the water. Not that you should take a different cup and then it from its contents you pour it into this one. So ma'amatzina b'chol makom mashul mala avkan mashul mala. We see that's mashul mala, that which goes on top, which again, if the ashes go on the top and the water's on the bottom, so too mashul mala. So in all other situations, says Rashi, offer hu hamakshir esamayim. So it's the offer which is makshir, the water. V'chein dam sipor shel matzara shemakshir esamayim lahazoyav kan offer makshir esamayim. Question 9. Stop here. Let's see question 9. Question 9 says, "V'nasan olav mayim," which sounds like you put water on it, which sounds like the offer was first, and then so olav mashma the offer kaidim. That says v'el Kelly is mashma the mayim kedaishim. So haketzad. So one answer is that the im hikna mayim will offer a kosher. You could do either way. Or El Kelly dafka, that it has to be that the water is in first. The olav is asal arvin, just comes to tell you that they're supposed to be mixed together. Question TB 28. Hikdim offer lamayim. If you put the offer in first and then the water, heim kasher b'saita uva para. So he said it's actually a machlokas tanayim, whether by Sotah or by paraduma. Adkan.